Hello again, it's me. Um, Today I'll be discussing multicellularity. I'm going to describe it as how the article describes it. We'll be talking about multicellularity, the importance of it, and the what it is entirely. As defined as in the article, it is stated to have 3 stages. Correlate with what multicellularity is, and because it's such a broad term, having those 3 stages can better pinpoint what multicellularity is. I would also like to point out that the complexities of multicellularity derives from the number of cells in said organism. It's not about how confusing it is. It is literally just a mass amount of clumps of cells conglomerated into one, which creates multicellularity and shows the complexities within multicellularity. Even though the term is broad, it can be defined into 3 stages.
Multicellular groups, I have bad handwriting. Multicellular individuals, as well as multicellular organisms. Yay, organisms. How this starts is from cells, right? Like these are cells, right? These are all cells, and they're all individual cells. And essentially they form into one. All these points form into one. So now they're into a group. And it's very nice because this is how the process starts. Cooperation is also heavily involved in this. There's cooperation. I'm going to say cooperation. Smiley face. There is cooperation within the cells, and it's good. But we don't know what it means, right? We don't know what it means, but we do know that it has some advantages, like, surface area tension. They need each other to survive, right? You start off as a group of cells conglomerating into one. Cooperation is heavily used because it is very important. That is multicellular groups. I would also like to add that there are 2 terms that are important with multicellular groups. It is clonality and aggregation. So essentially what clonality does is that it clumps the cells into one with just the leftovers. That's how you clone each other. So aggregation is shown in bacteria, and it's when they form together. And then the colonial, this is plant and animals. And then with aggregation, that's with bacteria. This is the transitional stage where it goes from this to this, right? Cooperation, not only is it for survival rates, but specifically environmental changes. Cooperation is good because it protects each other, and they have a better survival rate. And it also helps with environmental changes. Multicellular individuals, it is a transitional stage for the individuals to turn into Darwinian individuals. And this is where they sooner become the unit of selection. So because it is the transitional stage, there has to be reproduction made, right? There has to be reproduction made in order for the survivability to concur. With these individuals, they become into organisms, right? Not here yet, because this is multicellular organisms. This is a whole different thing. They soon become into a group reproducers. It's important to reproduce in terms of multicellular individuals. There are 2 questions in regards to the reproduction of the individuals. Whether is it from the groups of reproduction, or is it from the growth of said reproduction, is how that's made. Those are the 2 questions arriving from those 2. So there's also ecological changes and ecological conditions in order for them to survive, for a better survivability rate. So something good about multicellular organisms is the fact that the importance of this is kind of already derived from all of the main importance from this one is the fact that natural selection happens on the Darwinian individuals in order for them to, survive and like actually adapt. The whole group needs to survive in order to be one. There are another thing where the researchers in the article found out that they don't really need there doesn't need to be a good amount of mutations in order for this to for it to just excel. It's just like a few protein just holding back the whole process of mutations. So with multicellular organisms as well, in order for cellular differentiation to happen, there only needs to be a few mutations that has to be done, and that's from small proteins. Cellular differentiation is held back despite not needing a lot of mutations. It's just like those small proteins that are just kind of holding it back. With multicellular organisms, it's shown that multicellular development was all the way back with metazoans, right? The reason why all this is important is because it goes back to the evolutionary process. The evolutionary process is also tied with the ancestral genes, right? And from this, it shows that all of this co-opted for multicellular development and function in later organisms. All this is shown in later organisms. So the weird thing about Hox genes is that it's not shown in unicellular ancestors. Well, it's because it wasn't evolution, but it was more so of a consequence of multicellular individuals. So that's why there's no unicellular ancestors in Hox genes. It's because of this process kind of ruined it for Hox genes. Something else really important about multicellularity is the fact that cancer cells are very important, right? There was a case, Henrietta Locks, right? She had something special about her. Her cancer cells was unique. Cancer is an outlier, right? Cancer is an outlier in terms of multicellularity, and that's why they call it HeLa cells. But this is multicellularity. Multicellularity is just really broad, and that is the bad thing about it, because it's broad. To wrap it up, multicellular groups is the first stage. This is when the cells clump together. There's cooperation done, but we don't really know, the importance of it. We can kind of sum it up as the survivability rate, and avoiding praise, because obviously the smaller you are, the weaker you are. Two definitions: the clonality, it deriving from plant and animal, and aggregation, which is bacteria. Multicellular individuals, this is the transitional stage. This is where Darwinian individuals also happen, which later go into the unit of selection. The two questions regarding multicellular individuals is, does reproduction happen just from the groups, or is it from the growth of reproduction, right? And then with multicellular organisms, this is where natural selection happens. This is where all of those environmental changes, was for the better. Metazoans are mentioned. The evolutionary process and the ancestral genes are tied into one. They co-opted. So, multicellular development and the functions is shown in later organisms. Hox genes being a consequence of multicellular individuality, because, all those cells formed into one, they clumped into one, so now there is no unicellular ancestors. And then with Henrietta Lacks, it was because of cancer cells, but that is multicellularity. So yeah.
I would also like to say that this is the photo of multicellularity, and a good definition. I guess not really a definition, but more so a overview of how multicellularity works with different types of subunits, within everything. There's a lot of evolution made, at least 10 times, you know. There's a possibility that it's more. And there's just a lot of different stages of life, as shown in the image. I just thought it was, really important to mention that. And although there is no space in the whiteboard, I just thought this was like a quick, just something quick to add, as multicellularity is a very broad definition.